Hi, everyone. Really, really nice to meet you all. Um, I'm with a company called IBDG, and we contract with Delaware on trade development into Europe. We'll tell you a little bit more about how that works a bit later. We sort of manage everything from the UK, and the consultants like Mark do all the hard work. So I take no credit for the in-market work. That's all down to their expertise. So I'm going to hand over to Mark. He's going to tell you more about his region, and then I'll talk a little bit later about how we approach these trade missions.
Yeah, thanks, Terry. I do take the compliment. I do appreciate that, but don't undersell yourselves. You do a lot of work as well. Yeah, hi everyone. I guess it's 4 past 10 in the morning in Delaware now, I think. So it's afternoon here in Copenhagen, Denmark, which is where I've been based for the last 20 years. We're also having a bit of a heat wave at the moment. I haven't quite translated it into Fahrenheit, but I think Emma, it's about 30 degrees centigrade. So even in Scandinavia, it can get pretty warm here. But great to meet you all. Shall we just kick off with the presentation now, Emma? Are you happy with that? Fantastic. All right. Well, my name is Mark Chapman. I'm the founder of Nordlink Advisory, and I've been spending years helping companies like yourselves navigate the Scandinavian market. And that's by way of facilitating partnerships, B2B meetings, and market entry strategies across the Nordic region. When we talk about the Nordic region, we are including Denmark, Sweden, Norway, Finland, and Iceland. When we talk about Scandinavia, and I'm sure some of you probably know this, we're only talking about Denmark, Sweden, and Norway. So this presentation is focused on the Scandinavian nations of Denmark, Sweden, and Norway. We're going to do a pre-trip briefing. We've got about 20 minutes together, and I want to make sure that when you land in Copenhagen, you're not just visitors, but you're prepared, you're credible counterparts, and you're ready to have some meaningful business conversations when you come over. If you detect an accent, I'm half New Zealander, half British. I lived in Copenhagen for 20 years, so my accent is a little bit all over the place sometimes. But I'll try and speak slowly, and hopefully you can understand where I'm coming from. So we're going to cover the market landscape, the cultural dynamics that will make or break your meetings, and sectors where the biggest opportunities sit right now, and some of the practical logistics of your visit. So let's kick off now. So here's what we're going to cover today. 7 sections, all designed to give you what you actually need, not a geographic lesson, but a practical toolkit. And we'll move through these fairly briefly. And of course, if something is unclear or you want to go deeper on a topic, then just drop a message in the chat window. And I'm sure if we have the time, we can pick this up at the end of the presentation. So there's your agenda for today.
Did you,
Let's
Mark,
start with.
let
And
me
can you hear
interrupt
me?
you real quick. We don't see your slides. Do you mind sharing
Oh
them
Christ!
again?
Oh yeah. Oh, okay. My fail. My fail.
No worries.
Let me just correct that. There we go. I don't want you to miss out on the slides. Can you see it now?
No,
Maybe
they're
if I
still
do
not
this.
up. You'll have to click the share button.
Yeah,
There you
there
go.
they are. I
There.
tend to use Teams more than Zoom, so I'm a bit of an amateur when it comes to Zoom. But I hope you can see the slides now.
Yes,
So we've
we
just gone
can. Thank
through
you.
the agenda for today. So just to recap, as I said, this is going to be on 7 sections. The sections you can see there on the screen. We're talking about Scandinavia as a glance, some key facts and figures, and we'll just work our way through the 7 different topics, which will hopefully give you some good insight into this part of Europe and help you to decide whether or not this mission could be something for you. Sorry about that, guys. Hopefully everything is going to work smoothly from here on in. So let's start with some context, because I find that many US executives often underestimate this region. And it's actually an opportunity for you because your competitors are making the same mistake. Denmark, Sweden, and Norway are 3 of the wealthiest, most stable, and most innovative countries on the planet. Combined, their GDP rivals that of many G20 nations, and we're talking over $1.5 trillion in economic output as a region. So the numbers that I really want you to remember are these. Firstly, English proficiency. Denmark and Sweden rank #1 and #2 globally amongst non-native English speakers, and Norway is really not that far behind. So you'll do every single meeting in English. There's no language barrier, and that alone removes one of the biggest friction points of international expansion. Secondly, innovation index. All 3 countries sit in the global top 5 for innovation. And these are not emerging markets. They're sophisticated, tech-forward economies looking for equally sophisticated partners. Thirdly, the corruption index. Top 3 globally. So what does that actually mean practically? It means that contracts are honored, IP is protected, and you can trust the handshake. So the rule of law is real in this part of the world. You're not entering some kind of risky frontier market. You're entering one of the most reliable, stable, and high-value business environments in the world. And the question is simply whether you're going in there with the right approach, and that is really what today is all about. Oh, I jumped forward one there. Jump forward too. There we go. Right. Okay, so this is the slide that I'm most kind of passionate about. Argue that it's probably the most important slide that we're gonna cover today. As you can see, it's on understanding Scandinavian culture. This will give you your biggest competitive advantage. So I've seen deals won and lost in Scandinavia, and always the difference, almost always comes down to one thing, and it's a cultural fit. It's not the product, it's not the price, it's the approach. So I'm going to walk through 6 things that you need to understand before walking into any meeting. And this counts for Sweden, for Denmark, for Norway, across the entire Scandinavian region. So first of all, it's so important, and I've lived here for 20 years, but it's so important to acknowledge that it is a very flat hierarchical system here. You don't walk into a meeting looking for the boss to close. In Scandinavian countries, decisions are made collectively. So what does that mean? It means that the junior engineer in the room may well have as much influence as the CEO. Everyone is addressed equally. We use first names, always, from the receptionist to the managing director. So pulling rank or trying to go around the room to the top will actually work against you in Scandinavia. It's very important to know that. Secondly, directness. And this was quite interesting for me when I came here 20 years ago, because the Brits are by default, we tend to be quite polite, at least we think we are. The directness of the Danes actually came as a bit of a culture shock for me. Now I've been here long enough, I'm starting to sound like one, and I'm having to tone down quite often for these kind of presentations. But as I said, Scandinavians say exactly what they mean. They're not interested, they will tell you. If your proposal is shit, they will name it out clearly without softening the way that we do in Britain and the way that you guys do in America. Don't mistake this directness for hostility. It's not, it's respect. So when someone goes quiet, don't try to fill the silence with more selling. Silence often means, in Scandinavia, that they're thinking or they're uncertain. So let them sit with it for a while. I know that can be difficult, but it's so important. Thirdly, trust is earned, not assumed. Your first meeting is almost never a closing meeting. It's an exploratory conversation. So they are assessing whether you are a credible, reliable partner. And this takes time. So don't show frustration. Don't push for a decision. The relationship you build in one meeting pays off in the 3rd meeting. So what they value about everything is follow-up, follow-through. If you say you'll send something, make sure you send it that day. 4th, and this is an interesting one, it's called jantelov in Danish, jantelov. This is a deep cultural value rooted in Scandinavian society. And the idea of this is that no individual should consider themselves better or more important than anyone else. So in practical terms, this means that boasting about your company's size, your impressive skies list, your awards, usually lands badly. Let your product and the evidence do the talking. Understate rather than overstate. If you say you're the best, they'll be skeptical. If you demonstrate it quietly, they will trust you. So important, jantelov. Another Danish and Swedish words, hygge, which you may have come across if you're into your Scandinavian crime shows. I don't know how popular they are in America, but Danish hygge, Swedish fika, and mys. And these all point to the same thing. They're quite hard to translate into English, but essentially they mean the value of informal togetherness. So this means that the coffee break is not a distraction from a meeting, it is the meeting. And in many ways, this is where relationships are built. So you need to lean into that. Ask about their weekend, their summer house, their cycle route to work. Just be human, because the most successful US companies in the market are the ones who understand that you just don't rush Scandinavians. You can accelerate it through genuine and unhurried connection that you can make. Sixth and finally on this slide, punctuality. And then this is a bit of a no-brainer, but if 9 o'clock is a meeting, then you turn up at 9 o'clock. You don't turn up at 9:05, but you don't turn up 5 minutes before. So being late does signal that you do not respect their time, obviously. And Scandinavian culture is a culture that values efficiency and mutual respect. So that's a real reputational hit if before you've even shaken hands, you've turned up 5 minutes late. Just be there on time, or at least be there a couple of minutes early. Okay, the next slide we're going to talk about is on the business environment. And I just want to give you the structural picture. So it's the legal, the tax, and the market entry framework, because these are questions that I always get from finance directors and legal terms before a trip. And legally, all three countries operate a transparent rule of law system with a strong IP protection. Norway participates in the European Economic Area, so its framework is closely aligned with EU standards. For US companies, this means that the regulatory environment is familiar and predictable. Corporate structures, the Danish AS and the APS, the Swedish AB and the Norwegian AS, they all have close US equivalents. On tax, corporate tax rates in Denmark are at 22%. In Sweden, they are at 20.6%. And in Norway, they are also at 22%. So more importantly, the US has active tax treaties with all three countries, which means that in most structures, you can avoid the double taxation on dividends. And it's not a hostile tax environment. It's actually very manageable. And I encourage you all to speak with a cross-border advisor before the trip, if you haven't done so already, if you want to understand more about that. For market entry, you have several routes. Direct sales through a local agent or a distributor is often the fastest start. Registering a branch or a subsidy takes as little as between 4 and 7 days. And there are government-backed soft landing programs such as Invest in Denmark, Business Sweden, and the Innovation Fund Norway. These all provide free advisory support for foreign entrants, and we'll come back to those a little bit later when we talk about the resource side of things. Now let's look at where the money is, and these are sectors where Scandinavian companies are actively looking for US partners to grow. So green energy and clean tech is kind of the headline story. Denmark, as you probably know, is a global leader in wind power. Ørsted is the world's largest offshore wind developer, and Norway is transitioning its massive oil and gas infrastructure towards hydrogen and carbon capture. In Sweden, they have some of the most ambitious sustainable building standards in the world. If your company touches energy transition in any form, this region is one of the most target-rich environments you're going to find. Life sciences is another major cluster. The Copenhagen to Malmö corridor is home to Novo Nordisk, the company that essentially created the global GLP-1 market alongside the likes of Leo Pharma and dozens of other biotech spin-outs. Norway has a strong medtech and diagnostics center in Oslo. And if you're into health or pharma, then the talent and the appetite for US partnerships is both exceptional here. In tech and digital, Copenhagen is a top 10 European tech hub. Stockholm gave the world Spotify, Klarna, and King. Oslo is growing faster than almost any startup scene in Europe. AI, cybersecurity, fintech, SaaS, all of this is present and active in Scandinavia. I'd also like to flag two Norway-specific opportunities that often get overlooked, and that is maritime and offshore technology. So Norway is a global leader, and the US companies in engineering, subsea systems, and vessel technology will find a very recipient market here. Also agriculture. Norway produces more farmed salmon than any other country on Earth. And this is a sector that is hungry for technology across precision monitoring, logistics, and sustainability. So that's just a flavor of some of the sectors that are really prevalent here. It doesn't mean that if your company offers something different, they can't be successful. I just want to highlight that. A little bit about the work and life balance here. I do benefit from that greatly. I almost take it for granted nowadays, but I want to spend a moment on this because it actually surprises a lot of US companies that I work with. And if you don't understand it, it can create real friction. So probably what you've heard, I don't know how it gets reported in the US, but it depends what channel you watch probably, but you've probably heard that the work-life balance is quite exceptional here. The standard working week in Denmark is 37 hours. Sweden and Norway, it's very similar. Most of the professionals here are out of the office by 4 or 5 in the afternoon. On a Friday, it's even earlier quite often. I think rush hour in Copenhagen is around 2 o'clock in the afternoon, which sounds insane, but that's how it is. Sending an email at 7 o'clock in the evening and expecting the reply before the next morning is not how it works. It's not laziness. Productivity per working hour in Scandinavia is among the highest in the world. They work intensely and efficiently, and they do it within clear boundaries. And those boundaries command respect. So a few practical things I want to share with you all. Do not schedule a 6 o'clock call. It will not go down well. Morning slots between 8 and 10, their time work very well for transatlantic calls. July is largely dead. Most Scandinavians take up to 3 weeks of holiday in the summer. August can be quite quiet too. September through to June is your window. Parental leave is extensive. Both parents take it, sometimes for months and months and months. Your key contact may be on leave, and you need to plan that with your timelines. Fika, we already mentioned fika. It's the Swedish word for a coffee break. It's a daily ritual. We don't have it in Denmark. They have it in Sweden. And it's a genuine relationship moment when someone offers you a coffee and a pastry. They are not wasting your time. They're investing in the relationship. So gender equality is also worth noting. Female executives and decision makers are generally very common. Address all stakeholders in the room equally and with the same seriousness. Directing your pitch only at the senior man in the room is a mistake you will not be forgiven for. So we're just going to look at some practical logistics. I'm also conscious that the program's not really been firmed up yet. So and my knowledge of the US is okay, but I'm not sure how you'd get from Delaware to Denmark. But I do know that there are flights from Newark, JFK, and Dulles Airport. So maybe after you can tell me, Emma, how close I am to Delaware. I'm probably not that close. So. No visa required. STA, the electronic visa waiver, is sufficient for entry into the European Union. Copenhagen Airport is excellent, and the city is very easy to navigate. The journey time from the airport when you land to the city center is no more than 15 or 20 minutes. Copenhagen to Malmö. Malmö is the third largest town in Sweden. It's one of the unique features of your visit, I guess. The Öresund Bridge connects Denmark and Sweden, and it takes 15 minutes by train. So you're going to move between the two countries as easily as switching boroughs, or much easier than switching states, I would imagine. No border checks, just one big happy Schengen zone. The currency, Denmark uses the Danish krone, Sweden uses the Swedish krona, and Norway uses the Norwegian krona. So it's very easy to work out, but the exchange rate might be a bit of a challenge. Cards are accepted almost everywhere. You very rarely need cash. Everything is digital here. Don't bother with the airport exchange. Your card will work fine here. Time zone in the summer, Scandinavia is 6 hours ahead of US Eastern time. So plan your daily debrief calls home for the early morning your time, which is mid-afternoon in our time in Scandinavia. Ideally, you're going to be based in maybe Copenhagen, Oslo. It depends where the meetings are. If you are based in Copenhagen, then you'll find that it is a world-class hub with excellent connections. The city is beautiful, it's walkable, Transportation is superb, and you can easily get across to Malmo, as I mentioned earlier, in 20 minutes by train. A few quick tips when you're attending these meetings: dress smart but casual. Danes and Swedes are stylish but informal. Bring business cards; they're still valued here. If you're going to learn one local phrase, then learn the phrase tack. Tack just means thank you in Scandinavian. So the small gestures are really the ones that matter the most. Now let's talk about meetings themselves, because a great meeting in Scandinavia looks quite different from a great meeting in New York or maybe even Delaware. Before the meeting, research your counterpart thoroughly. Look at their website, their recent news, their LinkedIn. The Scandinavians expect you to have done your homework. So walking in without that signals disrespect. Prepare a concise one-page about your company, not a glossy slide deck, a clear factual summary of who you are, what you do, and why you're here. Keep it honest and specific. Know what outcome you want. Is this the first exploratory meeting? Are you looking for a distributor? Are you looking for an investor, a technology partner? Be clear in your mind, even though you don't lead with it. And then in the actual meeting itself, start with brief, genuine small talk about the journey to the office, comment on the city. Don't rush straight into your pitch. Listen more than you talk. In the first meeting, the goal is to understand them, their challenges, and their context, and what they're looking for. If you pitch more, you'll pitch more effectively if you've listened to them first. Pretty obvious stuff, I know. Be honest where you are as a company. If you're early stage, then just say so. If you're still figuring out your European strategy, just say so. Over-promising is the single fastest way to lose a Scandinavian's trust. Ask thoughtful questions. Show genuine curiosity about the business and the market. And this builds a rapport faster than any sales technique can. And then after the meeting, send a follow-up email within 24 hours. Recap the key points, confirm any next steps, and attach anything you've promised quickly. Don't over-pursue or over-prompt. Follow-up is right. Follow-up is good. Sending 4 emails in a week just signals desperation. Don't do that. Stay in touch in a human way. Share an article relevant to their sector. Congratulate them on a company announcement. Build the relationship, not just that transaction. So this is a comparison table that I put together, probably worth spending 30 seconds on, because it crystallized the mindset shift required. Decision making and US culture often, in my opinion, and from what I know, requires it moves fast. It requires a top-down kind of approach. Scandinavian decisions are much more consensus based. They take longer, but once they're made, they stick. They mean something. So be patient. Pitching style, high energy and big claims can be read as overselling here. Evidence-based, measured, and understated is what lands really well in Scandinavia. Trust in the US and also in the United Kingdom for sure. There's also a default of often a default of trust until proven otherwise. In Scandinavia, trust is built incrementally, business by business, meeting by meeting. Expect more touch points when things move. Networking, transactional networking, exchanging cards at volume is not the model here. Deep depth over breadth, one genuine connection is worth 10 superficial ones. Just going to take a glass of water, sorry. Thank you. Small talk. Skip the small talk. Talk about nature, design, sustainability, travel, food. All these things are real conversation currencies over here. So when I say sorry, skip the talk about the weather. That's what we do in the UK. The weather is generally not very good here. Focus on the stuff that Scandinavians love, and that's just the great outdoors or anything design related. They're really big on that kind of stuff. So key cities and market hubs. Your primary base, we hope, will be Copenhagen. It depends very much on where your meetings will be. Copenhagen is one of the world's most livable cities. It's home to big companies such as Novo Nordisk, Maersk, Vestas. It's also your gateway to Malmo, as we heard earlier, 15 minutes away by train on the Øresund Bridge. The Øresund region as a whole is generally quite unique. Danish and Swedish companies often share talent pools, office space, and supply chains across the bridge. So in one visit, you're actually going to be able to have meetings in 2 countries and access to one of Europe's most dynamic cross-border ecosystems. Oslo is a short flight away, about an hour and 20 minutes from Copenhagen. It's very much on the table for companies whose sectors point that way towards energy transition, marine technology, or aquaculture in particular. Stockholm is another strong option for you guys. The capital of Sweden, obviously, especially when it comes to tech and life sciences. The honest answer at this stage is that all of the destinations will follow the opportunities. So we're not yet locked onto a fixed itinerary. We go where the best matches are. And that's something that Terry and myself and Emma will work on together, and with each of you individually as well. So Stockholm and Malmo round out the picture. Stockholm is great tech venture capital. Malmo is the Sweden's southern hub, third largest city. And again, it's very easy to get to from Copenhagen, Denmark. Quick slide to just show you the support infrastructure available to you because you're not doing this alone. Invest in Denmark and Visit Sweden are the official investment promotion agencies for their respective countries. They provide free advisory services to foreign companies, market research, introductions, regulatory advice. I work very closely with these organizations here. Innovation Norway do the same for the Norwegian market. And all of these are genuinely very useful, and all of them provide free services. I just added a comment. The American Chambers of Commerce in Denmark, they have a presence here. In fact, they have a presence in all 3 of the countries of Scandinavia. Also might be worth connecting with, but you'll have your own route there. So there's a little point on some key contacts, and that brings me to the final slide. And so what I hope you're taking away from today is this: that Scandinavia is an exceptional market opportunity. It's transparent, it's innovative, it's actively looking for US partners, but rewards the companies who show up prepared and who respect the culture and who play the long game with their relationships. So you've got me in your corner for that. Before the trip, I'll definitely keep close to Terry and Emma as we prepare, I guess, briefing packs and the program starts to take shape. My details are on the screen for reference. I guess if you've not done so already, the next important step is to make sure you've applied for the program through Delaware. So that's your route in. And if you have any questions or if you'd like to set up a call to discuss any of these specific objectives for the trip, then do feel free to reach out for Emma, and I'm sure she'll organize that for you. So that's it from me. Thank you for your time. Look forward to the trip, and hope that was useful.
Thank you, Mark. That was really insightful. I feel like I have a picture for how to interact culturally, right, in a business meeting and navigate some of the local happenings there. So thank you so much. That was really interesting. Terry, I know you
Fantastic.
have some comments or more that you like to share, so I'll turn it over to you.
Brilliant. Thanks, Mark. Yeah, it was really to give you a little bit of background to us and how we operate these programs, just to give you an idea of how we would be progressing. Our company, IBDG, was established in '96. We work with various export promotion bodies globally, including the US, although our relationship with Delaware is actually relatively new. We have coverage across all of Western, Central, and Eastern Europe, and we do this through our network of in-market consultants who are located in 28 different countries in Europe. So our consultants are the market entry experts. They have considerable cross-sectoral knowledge of their local regions. They carry out the projects, and we coordinate and manage everything centrally in the UK. Most US clients that we work with are looking for boots on the ground in any overseas region, and a large percentage of the projects we carry out is to find such partners for sales and distribution. We also explore options for direct sales when this is the preferred route to market, identifying and contacting prospective end customers. We work with each client to build a profile of the sort of company that would be a good fit for them, exploring what complementary products they might be carrying, what customer base they need, the extent of their operations, their sales channels, etc. We also need to fully understand your value proposition, what makes you unique against your competitors, especially any local suppliers that have a similar offering. For our US clients, quality is always a USP, but we need to dig a bit deeper for additional advantages that will set you apart. For product companies, how quickly can you ship? Would you benefit from stock holding in Europe? Do you need a local installation or service company? Having a local partner operating in the same time zone as your client will undoubtedly offer reassurance. Our value add is that we are approaching potential partners or customers as an independent third party with the backing of a state body. So we're not regarded as another sales call. And this usually enables us to engage with companies at the right level, and our consultants are very experienced at reaching out to the right people. We've carried out very many trade missions and group visits over the years. We work with each company individually, and we conduct original research. We don't download or buy in a list of 1,000 prospects from the internet or conduct high volume email outreach. Our consultants use their own market knowledge and contacts to build a short list of prospects, taking a very individual approach for each one. So we research who the right point of contact is, the decision maker in some cases, although from what Mark says, that could be different contacts in each company. But we look at that before we even pick up the phone, because this ensures that we talk to the most relevant people early on. We will speak with the appropriate company contacts wherever possible as a first step, because this increases our credibility. We then follow up with email to interested prospects to provide more information before recontacting them again by phone to assess their continued interest and answer any questions. By the time we organise the meeting, we'd have spoken to each of these companies several times, so they'd be familiar with your product offer and fully understand why you're going to visit them. We won't try and sell your product. I think we'd be doing you a great disservice if we did. No one can present your product or service better than you can. So our job is to find the right sort of prospects for you, give them enough information so that they can assess whether it might be something for them, and open the door for you to speak with them directly. Lastly, any Delaware company looking to enter the European market in general for the first time should try and consider some form of reciprocal agreement in sectors where this is feasible to make itself as attractive as possible to a European company. Europe is a highly sophisticated market, and whilst there are excellent opportunities for US companies to be part of that supply chain, it's also quite competitive. A distributor will always ask the killer question, what's in it for me? So being open to some form of reciprocal agreement could benefit organisations on both sides of the pond. And a US company that's willing to have exploratory discussions that are perhaps not purely fixed on its own sales ambitions will undoubtedly open more doors and opportunities. So we really look forward to working with those of you that decide to join the trade mission and making it a successful market visit for everyone. Happy to take any questions for myself or Mark. If you have anything now, or we can always follow up by email if you think of things later on that you would like to ask.